Hey everyone, it's Alicia, and welcome back to the Wicked Alert podcast.
And I'm Kelsey. Today, Alicia and I are joined by women's hockey legend of Boston Fleet forward Jamie-Lee Rattray.
Before we get into that, as usual, we're going to talk about what we did this week. This week, I got knocked out pretty sick last week. I don't know what has been going on with me this fall, but man, I've been getting sick. And I find out that I'm in university and I don't, if you don't want to go to class, no one's stopping you. Your parents aren't yelling at you. So when I get sick now, I just knock out and I sleep. I hibernate until I get better. So I was out of commission for a few days.
Did you see that fall?
Kelsey just had, I don't know what happened to Kelsey there. Anyways, other than I got sick, but I recovered just in time to go to the Eras tour in Toronto, which was so fun. I didn't see any PWHL Toronto players, but I actually saw someone wearing a Scepters jersey. And I wanted to go talk to them and be like, Scepters suck. Not actually.
Oh, goodness.
But they walked away too fast, so I couldn't go say hi and be like, nice jersey. But it was so fun. It was such a therapeutic, healing day. I can't explain it. Just the energy, all the women empowering each other, and you need to calm down when everyone's like, shade never made anybody less gay, and all the rainbow lights, and everyone's screaming that. It was a vibe. And the surprise songs that we got were so good. We got I'm sorry to anyone who's listening to this who hates Taylor Swift. Not everyone loves her. But we got Mr. Perfectly Fine with Better Than Revenge, and then Labyrinth with, oh my god, what was it?
The Dementia.
State of Grace. That's what it was. Labyrinth and State of Grace. Anyways, that's really all I did last week because I got sick and then I went to that and now here we are. Kelsey, what'd you do?
Yeah, I'm not at all into Taylor Swift. She does have some bangers, but I wouldn't consider myself a Swiftie like everyone else does. But I remember seeing your tweets about it. And I'm like, oh my god, it looks like a fun concert. It looks like she puts on a really fun show. So props to her. So this technically isn't from this week. It was last week. Last week, I had applied to UNH Manchester, and I took a tour of the school. Before the tour, I went to a little really cute cafe, and I just did some assignments on my laptop. I felt really studious. It was really nice. And then I went on the tour, and I fell in love with the school. It's so small, and it's just such a nice area, and I instantly fell in love with it. I was texting Alicia the entire day, and I'm like, Alicia, I need some UNH Wildcat merch. I was already on Fanatics, already on Amazon looking around. And actually, yesterday I got an email. I've been accepted into their program, their communications digital media program, but that's for spring. And I decided to continue to take classes at my current school to get transfer credits. And I've already been emailed their admissions counselor and in talks with deferring my application until the fall. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that turns out good for me. But pretty good week, I'd say.
Such a big sister moment.
Yes.
Everyone, leave a slay in the comments for Kelsey. That's so good.
Thank you.
Now you need to get me some UNH merch.
I
actually was a Wildcat in high school.
Were you really?
I was a Wildcat in high school.
I kind of love the name because we actually talked about this during our pre-yap, the yap that we do before recording. I told her that I was I'm big into High School Musical. I've seen each of the movies at least 50 times. So I'm like, oh my god, I'm a Wildcat. I can't wait to make so many references to that movie when going to UNH. It's great. That's probably my favorite part about this whole thing.
Which is funny because you were telling me the other day that you were debating which one, but I think this one you have to go to the Wildcat one. Also, the main campus is literally named. It's in the city named after your last name. Yes. Is it not? You have to go.
That's kind of a flex. Honestly, a little bit of a flex if you ask me.
The dogs are barking. That's okay.
A little side note. When I looked back, it's because the lights on my wall fell, so I didn't know if they could see it or not.
Before we get into our interview with Jamie, which was amazing, by the way, we're recording this part of the episode after talking to her, and Jamie's great. Time for our ad read. Before we continue, here's a word from ESPN.
Missing out on your favorite NHL games of the week? Sign up for a subscription to ESPN Plus, your number one spot to watch NHL hockey by visiting InsideTheRink.com/ESPN.
Today, we're thrilled to have an incredible guest joining us. She's a world-class athlete, an Olympic gold medalist, and one of the most dynamic forwards in the game. From lighting it up on the ice with Team Canada to inspiring the next generation in the PWHL with the Boston Fleet, Jamie-Lee Rattray has become a household name in women's hockey. Jamie, welcome to the podcast. It's such an honor to have you here.
Oh, thanks for having me. Dynamic, I like that. I'll keep that. Dynamic player. I don't know if that said much about me, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
First question, we wanted to ask you to share us a little bit about what it's like to be an open queer woman in the professional sports world. Both Kelsey and I are queer women, and we find it really inspiring to be out and open like you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think in the hockey space, especially the women's hockey space, I feel like I've been very fortunate to have a really positive experience. I think a lot of us in this space are, at least what I've heard, have had a positive experience, which is really kind of made it easy for me to, come out when I was in college. And I never really felt out of place or anything like that. I could always be myself. And I think now, especially now the platform we have, I think it's super important to be a good role model. And, I'm pretty comfortable in my own skin, and to be able to be out and maybe I inspire or help someone else maybe that is having a hard time. So I think, I think it's a big responsibility, but I also think, when I was growing up, I think about if I had role models like that, I think there were a couple, but I think it's now, more so really important to have more models to look up to. And if I can help someone with their story, or maybe if they want to come chat with me and about my experiences, I think that'll help a lot. So, I've been really, really fortunate to have a lot of positive experiences, and I hope that in the future in our game, it continues to be that way. And I hope that we can continue to create an open environment, because I think on the women's side, we have done a really, really good job of that.
What advice, I guess, would you say what advice would you give to young girls who are aspiring to play hockey professionally, maybe particularly in Canada? You grew up in Ottawa like me.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me growing up, I think, I just loved it. I think I really enjoyed the game. And I think, as you get a little bit older and maybe the pressure starts to grow, maybe you're playing at a high level, I think the pressure can maybe get to you. But I think for me, I think the biggest thing was I kept it fun, right? I still enjoyed, going out my driveway, shooting pucks. I still enjoyed going to the rink every day. And if it ever, maybe it doesn't become, as enjoyable, maybe going to the rink for practice or anything, it's okay to take a step back here and there and reevaluate. And, but I think too, like, don't be afraid to dream big, right? There'll be a lot of people telling you, that you can't do it. But don't be afraid of it. I had a dream, after I watched the 2002 Olympics, to go to the Olympics and play for Canada. And I was super fortunate to be able to do that. And, I think, it's okay to dream big and have goals and look forward. And now with the PWHL, I think it's even, there's even more to look forward to, right? More role models to look up to, and more hockey to watch. So, I think the big thing is, first of all, stay disciplined in what you're doing. Keep it fun no matter what. I think, hockey is a really fun sport, and, it's our job now in the PWHL, but it's also a lot of fun for me to go to the rink. So, I think that's the biggest thing, I could give it to a young player, is keep having fun and stay disciplined and work hard, but also don't be afraid to dream big.
Awesome. What has been your biggest challenge in professional hockey, on or off the ice?
Yeah, I mean, I think, technically I haven't really been a pro for 1 year, I think, technically, but I think since I graduated in 2014, there's been quite a few obstacles, right? We had the CWHL, we had the CWHL fold, we had the PWHPA, and now the PWHL. I think, My biggest obstacle as an individual, I think, I was released from the Olympic team in 2018 prior to being centralized. And at the time, I think I thought it was the end of the world, and that's all I kind of had my focus on. And at the time, right, we had the CWHL, and for the national team, that was our biggest thing. So if we were in the national program, that was kind of, a lot of us was our really big focus. And I unfortunately didn't make that roster, and I, had a really hard time with it for a little bit. And for me, I just had to reset and kind of change my routine a little bit and start to enjoy the game again. I think I was putting way too much pressure on myself leading up to that year to try and make that roster. And, I need to learn how to have fun again at the rink and enjoy it. And that year that the girls were at the Olympics, I, had the best year for me individually. I was able to just reset and enjoy hockey again. And, I still worked my tail off to try and get back on the team, but I think, it was a good year for me. And at the time, it maybe felt like the end of the world, but, in the end, it ended up being the best thing for me, I think, because I learned a lot about myself and how to deal with adversity and how to kind of fight back and prove yourself, prove other people wrong. And, so I think individually, that was probably the hardest moment for me.
You've obviously had a lot of success. You won the Olympic gold medal. What was your proudest moment in your career?
Yeah, I think that one probably sticks out. I think it's pretty hard to top that. I think, like I said, I was released in 2018 and then get to go back in 2022. And I was a little bit of an older athlete. I was 29 years old. And, to ever think that, I was ever going to really be there, back in 2018 was kind of crazy that I got back to the 2022 games. And I was really able to enjoy it a lot because I think as you get older, you really, don't take those things for granted at all, any of those opportunities that you get. And so I think that was the biggest accomplishment for me. And that team was super special. Like we spent, it was a tough year because with COVID and the Olympics, and no one really knew what the landscape was going to look like. And I think that kind of brought our team together, and it was such a special group. And to be honest, I think that was probably the best hockey team I've ever been on. We were so connected in every way, whether it was on the ice or off the ice. I mean, you watch some of the highlights from that tournament. Some of the goals we scored were pretty ridiculous, and we were just so connected in every way. And I think we did it the right way as well. And I think that's for sure my best moment. And, being able to come home with that and share it with my family. Obviously, because of COVID, we weren't able to have any family there, but to come home and celebrate with them was a ton of fun, and something I definitely won't forget.
What was your initial reaction when you found out that the PWHL was forming?
Well, excitement. I think finally, the word finally kind of comes to mind, right? I think this, last year was my 10th year out of college, and it was kind of like, okay, finally we made it. You know what I mean? And I think at first, a lot of us were, super excited, but also, okay, is this what's going to work? Is it going to finally, come together? And it really did. I think too, those years with the PWHPA were worth it. I think a lot of us, it was a grind going through those years, right? We didn't have true teams, a true league, right? We were training in certain groups. Some girls were working full time, and it was a little bit of a grind, but I think in the end, it really, really paid off. And I'm super happy that, there are so many great people, working behind the scenes and being patient and really continually push the envelope, that those couple years that we had to, kind of be the PWHPA was really worth it, because in the end we got this amazing league and we did it the right way. And, I think my initial reaction was just super excitement, and I was excited to be on a team, be in a city, wherever that was, and be a part of a team again. And, I hadn't played on a real team in a couple of years, so I was super excited. And I finally, especially I think about the girls that maybe didn't get a chance to play in this league, like some girls really pushed the envelope forward, worked full time, played in the CWHL and the PWHPA, and maybe they didn't get an opportunity to play in the PWHL. But to be honest, I think those girls should get the most credit. They really stuck with it, and I think gave up a lot of their own time to play the game that we love and push it forward. And I just think the first season really made it all the more special because we were patient and we did it the right way.
You've played against a lot of your teammates on the international level. but now you're on a pro team with a bunch of them. Hillary Knight, obviously captain of Team USA. How does it feel to play against some of them now on the Boston Fleet?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think that question was so common last year. I think for a lot of us, especially Canada, US, I think a lot of the girls got the same question of, okay, how is it now playing with them? And I mean, I always had so much respect for, the girls in the US. I think, we always were fighting for the same thing. And, I played against Hill for a handful of years, and I've always respected what she's done. I mean, you look at her resume, it's, it speaks for itself, and, she's so clutch in a lot of big moments, and most of them were against us, unfortunately. But I think the cool thing is now, I think even playing with, European players, like some of our European players that I played against in the world stage too, I think you learn a lot playing with people. I think I was so, so fortunate last year to just bounce ideas off players and learn a lot from how they play, how they see the game. And I think it was really, a really fun year to, get to know them. And I think going into year 2, we just were hitting the ground running. And I think too, you had a lot of respect for them, but now there's even more respect as you see them go to work every day and the work they put in. And we're all kind of, we're teammates here. We're not teammates when we go to the Worlds, but I think in the end, we will always battle the same way. So it's been a lot of fun.
What is one thing you want fans to know about, I guess, the reality of being a woman in sports? Obviously, the WNBA has shot up in popularity. The PWHL has become increasingly popular with the attendance records being broken.
Yeah, I mean, what should I tell people, or what's the behind the scenes? You mean, kind of, or what are you thinking?
I guess, yeah, like behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, now that we have a full league and there's so many eyes on us and there's way more people watching the games, I think, the pressure can get a little higher. Like, I think, people have watched women's hockey a lot in the Olympics and the World Championships, but, not to this scale where we're watched almost every other night. And, I think that was something I learned too last year, was how to manage it, how to be a consistent athlete every single night when you play, and having to deal with the more external pressures now. There's more eyes on it. There's more people covering it, social media, all that kind of stuff. So I think sometimes it's a ton of fun. I wouldn't give it up for the world, but I think people probably don't realize how stressful it can be, right? Like, I think, you're playing against the best players in the world, playing with the best players in the world, and that comes with a lot of expectations sometimes. And something that I've always told, our younger players or girls coming into the league now, even this year, is that, like, it's okay if you're feeling pressure, if you're feeling stress, like it's okay. It's pretty normal and at this stage, playing at this level. And it's all about how you manage it and how you use your teammates to lean on each other and get through it together. And as you go through it too, learning what works best for you. I think that's one thing that I've learned, at least last year and going into this year, is, how do I function and how do I manage it in a certain way. And I think it's a ton of fun, but also can be a lot of pressure. So, and I mean, it's like any professional sport. NFL, NHL, NBA, they're all under the same pressures. It's, they may be making millions of dollars, but we're all human in the end, and it's still, it's still tough sometimes.
What part of season 2 are you most looking forward to?
I'm excited to see how high level the games are. I mean, I think the games were amazing last year, but I mean, I think now that we, kind of know what to expect as players, and I mean, you look at the draft class that's coming in, that, I mean, they're lights out. They're so good. And, especially the girls that we picked up, at least playing with them in practice and stuff this last couple of weeks, it's been pretty awesome to watch. And there's some great talent in the league, and I can only imagine how high level the games are going to be. And I think last year we were really focused on growing the league and, how everything was kind of a first for everybody. But now I'm excited just to focus on hockey, right? I think now, we've kind of, established what works and how big this league is going to be. And now as players and, even the staff of the league we can focus on the product on the ice and, things like that. So I think, there's a lot of great things to look forward to. I mean, I honestly can't wait to get started on Saturday.
Do you have any games circled on your calendar this season in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I mean, the one in Seattle would be awesome. I know we played a rivalry series game there a handful of years ago, and that building is really cool. I don't know if you guys have ever been, but it's pretty state of the art, and the crowd was awesome when we were there. It was a blast, and I mean, any game, you know, I go back to Ontario, so either Toronto or Ottawa. I mean, obviously Ottawa's where I grew up, and then Toronto is where I've lived the last 10 or 11 years of my life. So either one of those is always circled because I get to see some family and you know, go back home for a little bit. So those are always big ones for me. But yeah, some of these, you know, I think they're calling them takeover games, will be a ton of fun, and playing some different markets and playing some different NHL buildings.
All right, so now we're gonna ask you. Oh, did you have another one?
No, go ahead.
All right, now we're gonna ask you some more like silly questions,
Sure.
like a little speed round. So in the locker room when they have like during like before the game, like when there are cameras in the locker room aimed right at you when you were like stretching, tying your skates or anything, do you have to like try like to like not laugh or smile at the camera?
Well, I actually would rather smile because I think it's like kind of, I mean, I'm more of like a easygoing type of chill person before the game, so I'd rather be just chatting with my teammates, making me smile, and I think that makes it easier. It is weird, they just come in and like stare right at you, and you're like, okay, what do I do? Like all of a sudden it becomes unnatural, right, what you're doing. But I mean, there's some, you know, there's some other girls that are more serious. Like I know Hill is usually pretty locked in. She's got her music on, but I'm more of a just hang out and laugh type of person.
Do you guys have an aux in the locker room? And if so, who has control of the playlist?
Well, I am usually in charge, especially with the national team. But last year we had a couple other girls. We would take turns, kind of rotate the duties. So I don't know if anyone will take it over from me this year. We'll see. I like passing it around a bit more because some of the new songs I don't know as well anymore because there's a bit more of an age gap now with the girls coming in. So I need some education too. But I'm usually the one that takes it over. But it's a big responsibility. So
What kind of music do you play on the aux?
I change it up. I actually make a playlist if I'm doing it before every game. So I have my pregame meal, grab a coffee, and then when I come back to my room, I make a playlist before I get ready. So it usually changes. Usually I do like a theme. So usually it's either like, I don't know, like, you know, more of like a dance or 80s or, you know, throwbacks. It changes. Sometimes I'll just throw everything on one playlist, you know, hope for the best. So it changes every day for sure.
That's awesome. When you just sound about just doing normal things, do you ever stop to think like, wow, there's someone out there with a jersey with my name on it right now?
Yeah, I mean that's really cool. I don't, you know, that's funny you bring that up because you don't really think about that. But yeah, I mean, I think even the shirt you're wearing, like, I can't believe that people bought that, right? I think that was a really cool campaign. That, you know, I see them everywhere, even in warm up. I look over and people are wearing them, and it's really, really cool. So yeah, you know, it's funny. Like I didn't think about it much until after season last year. I think after it was all done and settled, I kind of thought about how big the year was, and I think that's where it kind of set in a bit more. Like when you're in it all the time, you know, you're kind of dialed in for the season. You don't really look, you know, outside of what's going on a ton. So I think last year, by the end of the year, I was, you know, it was really cool to see how big it had gotten, and you know, hopefully there are some ratty fans out there. I don't know if there's too many, but.
Do you ever make a face on the bench and then notice a camera and hope they didn't catch it?
I'm sure that's happened. I feel like my dad always tells me when I've dropped a couple bad words and I'm on camera. So I think after I've missed a open net or something, I'm sure I've thrown some words out there that I shouldn't have said. And they, I mean, they can't hear it, but I'm sure people can read lips, and I'm sure it's not good. So I don't know. I'm sure there's been some tough moments, but not too many that I have been tagged in. So we'll see.
During warm-ups or even during the game, does like all like the cheering, like the high energy, like even the lights and music, does it like move you, or do you kind of like just tune it out and just do your thing?
I'm more of a person that notices it. Like I think I mean I love the music. I love, you know, that. I think, to be honest, like at the beginning of the year, because some of the buildings were super loud and we weren't used to playing in big buildings like that all the time. I found it took me a bit to get used to be honest. Like I think I'm not sure if any other girls felt that way, but you know, it does make a difference when, you know, when you say if you're on the road playing, you know, they score, it's super loud. Like it's it's definitely a little different than when we were playing in some community rinks, back in the day. So yeah, I mean, it depends. I when there's a good song on, I definitely hear it. And even actually the sing along last year in Detroit where they're singing along to Taylor Swift, I noticed that, and I remember on the bench, I don't remember who I was next to, but I said that was really cool. Like in the moment I had acknowledged it, how cool it was, and then after it blew up like crazy. So it was yeah, it just depends. I mean, sometimes I'm probably more locked in than others. Just depends.
Hypothetically, if we were to get like a PWHL fantasy type thing going on, would you draft yourself?
No, I don't think so. I would probably, I don't know who I would pick first overall. Maybe, I mean, based on last year, maybe Spooner, but yeah, I don't know if I would pick myself. I mean, I think there's some pretty great players out there that are, probably put up way more fantasy points than me. So probably not.
Do you have any hockey pet peeves or superstitions?
Hockey pet peeves. Big one for me is in practice when people don't know the rotation. That's been like a big one for me. I don't know if that's a pet peeve, but that's just like making sure we're efficient. I don't know. Another pet peeve. I don't know. I'm pretty easygoing. I think. I mean, the girls in warm up say that I'm a little bit crazy and I have some super. I mean, I do the same thing in warm up every single time, but I feel like everybody does that, so I'm not really that weird. But I like to take my stick out by the rink, whether that's just in the corner or on the bench. Doesn't really matter where it is. I like to get out of the dressing room for a second, take a second, look around, and after that, I'm pretty easy. I play some spike ball or hang out. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, I hear and see from the games that you are kind of all over the place during warm-ups.
I'm usually buzzing around pretty good, I think. I like to feel, get going, see how I'm feeling, see how the legs are going, and I think I may have to slow that down a bit if we're playing way more games. But it's always fun to buzz around.
All right. From the fleet, pick 3 players that you would like to be, not like to be, but if you had to be stranded on an island with 3 players from the fleet, who would it be and why?
Ooh. Stranded on an island. Okay. I feel like Emily Brown would be good because I feel like she's good with the wilderness. Like I saw that she was telling me about how she went hunting before the season. I feel like that's good. So she knows how to hunt. She would get us food. I'm trying to think of anyone else. I mean, I could cook the food, so that's good because I know how to cook. Not many other girls on the team know how to cook, I don't think. So I'll take Brownie, and then I'll take Emma Soderberg because I feel like she would be resourceful. I feel like she would just do anything. And then I will take maybe Hannah Brandt just for pure entertainment. I don't know if she'd be any help, but I feel like if we're stranded, I feel like she'd just be a lot of fun to hang around with. So
I'll take
those. Yeah, I'll take those 3. She wouldn't be able to cook and or do anything, but she would be fun to have around.
Lexia Gia says she was motivated to skate with Canadian Smarties, which it's weird that I have to specify that because they're just Smarties.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do you have any funny stories about how you learned to play hockey?
Not really. I mean, I just remember being a kid. Like I have this picture of me in my pink snow pants, and I was on the lake. Like I grew up with a cottage, and that's where I kind of learned how to buzz around on the lake. And but I was I didn't have any Smarties really. I was a pretty self-motivated kid. Like I was always on my driveway shooting pucks and doing things like that. So I feel like I wanted to be a goalie as a kid. Like I always loved playing net and road hockey and stuff like that. My parents didn't let me, so. But yeah, I don't know. I was a pretty easygoing kid. I just loved it so much. I wanted to play it nonstop. So that was pretty much my childhood.
I also wanted to be a goalie growing up, but
yeah,
parents don't let me.
I think that's all the questions. Do you have any more, Alicia?
No.
Before the send off.
Just the last one.
All right. So a thing that we talk about on this podcast is we are both big fans of Carly Jackson.
Yep.
And they are a huge hot dog person. Like they are always seen with a hot dog somewhere. And so we asked people who listen to the show, like, what is your favorite arena or stadium hot dog?
Arena or stadium. So I've had a hot dog at the Bell Center, and the Bell Center is very good. They've got some good hot dogs. So I would probably say there. But I'm not really a big, like, whenever I go to rinks, I'm not like a big snack. I usually like to go out for a nice dinner first, so that I'm not usually hungry. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, the Bell Center had a mean hot dog, I will say. They were very good. I mean, the Bell Center is top notch in a lot of things. I know that the Montreal people will probably agree with me, but that was probably one of the coolest rinks that I've watched an NHL game in. Just had the way it's built and the energy. So I'll take the Bell Center hot dog for sure. I'll have to try them out though. I'll do Carly. I'll do Carly well, and I'll start trying some more hot dogs.
Songus has some pretty good ones, I'll say.
Yeah, do they? All right.
Yeah.
I'll try Songus ones after the game one day for sure.
Perfect.
Jamie, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your stories. It's been amazing hearing from you, and we really appreciate you coming on.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
That wraps up this episode of the Wicked Alert podcast. We hope you enjoyed the interview with Jamie-Lee Rattray. Don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date with the latest news and episodes. And hey, if you loved what you heard, be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast. It really helps us out. Also, check out our merch. Maybe you want to get someone a Christmas gift. I mean, I'm a little biased, but like, I want that for Christmas.
Best merch, honestly.
As always, I'm Alicia.
And I'm Kelsey, and we'll catch you next time. Stay wicked, hockey fans.